the results were phenomenal. So much so that the National Rosacea Society called us and said, we've been thinking about doing the seal of acceptance for products. And we saw your published study. Send us all your data. Send us all your safety data. I mean, they vetted the living daylights out of this. So we were the first product to get that seal. And now you see others. But Sente was the first because of that data and because of the impact it has on patients.
Hello and welcome back to the Technology of Beauty, where I have the opportunity to interview the movers and shakers of the beauty business, and today is no exception. Today in the studios from Atlanta is Zubeen Meshkinpour. I know I didn't pronounce that right. Tell us again how you pronounce it.
Meshkinpour.
Meshkinpour.
Yes.
How about just Zubeen?
That's perfect.
Okay. Or ZM.
Yep, that's even better.
ZM. Well, listen, you came in from Atlanta, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So great. And he is the COO and, are you president too?
Yep.
And president of Sente.
That's right.
Down in Carlsbad, right?
Yep, Carlsbad.
Fantastic. Well, before we get to that, where did you grow up?
I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio.
Yeah?
Small town, I say Cleveland, Madison, Ohio, about an hour east of Cleveland. Small little town.
East, okay.
Yep.
And where'd you go to college?
All over the place.
Okay, start with your first one.
University of Cincinnati for a year.
Okay.
Thought I was going to be a physical therapist, and they had the best PT school around at that time.
Uh-huh.
And then transferred up to Bowling Green to further that program and try and get into the Medical College of Ohio for physical therapy.
Okay.
Didn't get in, but that was actually a blessing. Because
that's fortunate.
When that class would have graduated, the market was saturated. So as opposed to when I was trying to get in, and they were given like $80,000 signing bonuses at some departments with fat salaries, all of that was gone. And I saw so many people that were miserable. So things happen for a reason, but yeah, so that was Bowling Green State University. That's where I finished my undergrad, and then I got a couple graduate degrees at.
You can't get away that easy. What are your graduate degrees in?
So an MBA in Marketing and International Management from University of Toledo.
Okay.
And then I got a Master's of Science in Corporate Finance at Walsh College, a small business school in Michigan.
After your MBA?
Yep.
So total number of years of high school, post-high school education?
Oh my gosh. What would that be? 1, 2, 3, plus, I was a 4.5-year program, so 7.5 years.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still not as many as you.
No, but that's an awful lot. So when you finished that up, where'd you start?
Well, I did a lot of that while working. So
okay, fair enough.
I was operations manager at UPS.
Okay.
In Toledo while I was getting my MBA. And then I was a pharmaceutical sales rep when I was getting the Master's of Science in Corporate Finance.
Okay. Which company were you a pharmaceutical rep for?
Started at Bayer, selling Avalox and Cipro, some old school fluoroquinolones, antibiotics, and then went to a specialty GI company selling products for inflammatory bowel disease.
Okay.
That was called Salix, and then went to an ophthalmic company called Inspire.
Okay, and what did you sell there?
So we had a co-promote with Allergan for a dry eye product, and then Inspire's own product was called Azocyte, which was, for bacterial conjunctivitis.
I got it.
Yeah.
Okay, how'd you get into the beauty business, or when did you get into the beauty business?
So I was at Inspire, and it was supposed to be a relo, and from Atlanta up to Research Triangle Park, and it was right when the housing market absolutely collapsed, and we would have taken a bath on selling our house. So I was trying to extend the relo money as much as I could, staying in crappy little hotels, and a very good friend of mine who is a partner, was an operating partner, now he's a managing partner at a private equity group. He knew I was miserable. And he said, hey, I've got an offer for you, and you're going to work hard. I'm going to pay you less, but you're going to learn a ton. and you can live in Atlanta. You don't have to sell your house. And I said, okay, I'm in. And that was fantastic. So that's how I got in. It was running Analtus, the biocorneum business,
Right.
which that was owned by this private equity group. So I was an operator for them. We had that for 8 years.
And you were a partner of the Aesthetic Society?
Yep.
And that's when I met you.
And that's when we met.
Biocorneum.
2008.
Yeah.
A long time ago.
Yeah. And we were always so appreciative of you sponsoring the Aesthetic Society.
I tell everybody that was one of the best moves ever. Well, honestly, the best move ever for that business. I mean, that really elevated us, got us brand awareness, and it's such a great group of people. You know, one of your other guests I was talking to, he said, well, you know, why did you want to get back in aesthetics? And I said, because everybody's so fun. Like, they're fun people to work with. They genuinely enjoy what they do, which, I mean, when you're around people like that, you just can't help but enjoy what you do and have a good time. Mm-hmm. And so I love it. So
you left. So wait, you're at Sente now. Did you have another stop between?
Yeah. So
what was that?
As part of that private equity group, when we sold the Analtus business, we had several exits of it. The biocorneum piece we sold to Sientra. Then they put me in a Fund 2 company that was in long-term care and home health.
I didn't know about this.
Yeah, and so I was in that for about 2 years. We sold that, and then they put me in a hearing health business. Long story behind that, but I was there for about 1.5 years, and then just really missed being in aesthetics. And I still went to, and the reason why nobody knows, like I say, back in aesthetics, I kept going to all the conferences.
Yeah, I never saw you disappear.
I never disappeared because I enjoyed it so much, and people were friends, and you know, to get to see you on a regular basis still, and everybody else, and I genuinely enjoyed it. And there's a couple companies I was an advisor to, and Sente was one, and you know, I just made the decision. I still have a great relationship with that PE group, but I wanted back in aesthetics, and. Made the decision, and Sente, you know, like, I've known them a long time. I know the founders of the company, and so I just said, hey, I'm going to come back into aesthetics. I'm going to start interviewing, just to give them a heads up. And you know, they said, well, don't look, come here.
2 questions. First one, was Philippe Chazon the chairman at the time when you started?
He was, yes.
And Philippe is my co-chair at AIS, incidentally, and dear friend. He's been on the program. And next question, who is it that you were referring to that had Siente that hired you?
So
the founders, you said founders.
Yeah, so one of the people the original people that founded it was Fahim Hasnain, biotech guy, a great guy. And then the other 2 founders and the people that developed the molecule, Cleanthus and Marios, a couple of Greek guys. And and I'd known them forever. I mean, since they had launched the company. So,
and you'd been a consultant for Sente.
Yep.
And now you're running it.
Now
basically.
I'm running it. Yep.
And is there a CEO?
Nope.
So you report directly to the board.
Yep. I report directly to the board.
So tell us a little bit about Sente. How many employees do you have? If you can tell us any other metrics, I'd love to hear.
Sure. I mean, we're a small company. We have about 20 employees, with most of that being in sales, and you know, some marketing people, and then very lean on the back office operations. Started a little over 10 years ago. These 2 PhD biotech guys, they used to own a manufacturing facility in Milan, Italy, where and that facility is still there, and they make biotech ingredients, like true, you know, oncology, neurology. And they were working with this molecule, heparan sulfate, not heparin, but heparan sulfate. And they were looking for other applications. And so they started researching it, and they saw the critical role it plays in our skin. And, you know, if you don't know, heparan sulfate, it's a glycosaminoglycan, so it's a large molecule. And the technology, or one of the technologies they have at this facility, is to take large molecules and make them small so that they can penetrate topically. And so they applied this technology and created an analog of the heparan sulfate molecule. And you know, started the company essentially, and so we call it HSA, which is heparin sulfate analog. And being biotech guys, one of the things I really appreciate about the business is they treated it like a drug. So they reached out to this research dermatologist, Rich Gallo at UCSD, world-renowned research dermatologist. The Michael Gold's of the world and stuff, and Michael Gold's a good friend. He would tell you, like, they bow down to this guy. They look up to him. And so he said, well, okay, if it really does penetrate topically and your analog has the same biological properties as the endogenous molecule, you've got something. So Dr. Gallo did the original studies to prove all of that.
Okay.
And Sente was off and running.
So a couple questions. Does it penetrate along the hair follicle?
Does it penetrate along the hair follicle? So into hair?
No. Does it? Okay, let's start with the second question then. What's the depth it's delivered to?
Oh, down into the dermal layer of the tissue.
So dermal, not subdermal?
No.
Okay. And so its effect is on the cells, is interstitial cells, or is it on the
So it's a really
dermal cells?
Cool. There's three main things that this molecule does. One is a water binder, so just like HA.
Okay.
So you get great dermal hydration. It also regulates inflammation.
Okay.
And so this makes a great molecule for people with sensitive skin that get really irritated. We've got some great data on patients with rosacea, treating that centralized redness. Same thing with pigmentation, because there's an underlying inflammatory component to it. So some of our data shows the impact on pigmentation. But probably the coolest thing that does, and why heparan sulfate is so important to our skin, and this is the endogenous form that we make, it helps to allow the different molecules in the ECM, the extracellular matrix, to bind to the skin cells to do what they do, i.e. growth factors. So growth factors, they help to produce collagen and elastin. But if there's not enough heparan sulfate in our skin, they just float around and they don't bind to the skin cell. They don't have their effect. So it enables this cell-to-cell communication, so that those bits can be effective.
And what cells make heparan sulfate in our body?
What cells make heparan sulfate in our body? That's a great question.
Are those the fibroblasts?
I don't believe it's the fibroblasts.
Okay.
But
so that needs to be answered at some point.
I should have went and got a PhD.
Okay, so wait a minute. So now let's go to my next question.
Yeah.
How does it penetrate the analog, the heparan sulfate analog? How does it penetrate through the cornified epidermis and all the way into the dermis? Does it follow a route along the hair follicle? Does it go transcutaneous?
Transcu. So it basically, what they did with this molecule was change the size and shape of it and the polarity. So reduce on its own, it has a pretty high negative charge. So they made it almost neutral. So you take this really long snake-like molecule and make it really skinny and needle-like almost, and reduce the charge, so it just passively penetrates through the skin down to the dermal layer of the tissue.
I'll be darned.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure you've heard of Ryan Beal, and I think you saw him at AIS.
Yes.
And he has a dive, and he's been on this show before, and he's shared with us his molecule, if you will, his vehicle with which he can actually penetrate the skin transcutaneously all the way into the bloodstream. And we talked about oncologic drugs, but we've also talked about things like drugs that minimize fat, and also perhaps toxins and so forth. Now, in terms of your substance, your molecules, do you want to accelerate the transcutaneous delivery? Would you ever be interested in coupling up with something like that, or do you have enough delivered?
No, I would be definitely interested, because it's and to your point, why if we can more effectively deliver it and use less but have the same outcomes, I mean, why wouldn't we want to do that?
Yeah, you might want to check out with Ryan Beal.
I will have to.
Others have. That's how the toxin came, and the fat lysing molecules and so forth. So I would encourage you to reach out to Ryan Beal.
I'm going to have to.
Who knows?
Yeah.
It might be an interesting project to take your molecules and put it in with his and see if it works.
That would be cool.
Okay, so you've got this molecule, or did you call it a molecule?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
and you deliver it. Now, how does a patient or how does a person like me get our hands on it? What's that look like on a commercial basis?
Yeah. So commercially, when the company was formed and until COVID, 100% through physician practices. Very sciencey story to tell, obviously. And so we thought it best at the time, let's have the physicians really be the mouthpiece for the product. And that's still the best way, and that's still primarily how most of our products, most of our business is done, is through plastic surgeons' offices, med spas, and dermatologists.
Okay.
When COVID hit, we were very small, and like many, we had to survive, and without knowing, how long that was going to last, and all these retail outlets essentially closed.
Right.
We did launch online selectively on our website and with a few. Like Derm Store, Lovely Skin, and that was really about it, and that got us through. That got us through COVID. I think by and large, the physicians and the practices understood. Well, okay, you had to do it. Just don't let them discount things like that, and make things special to the practice.
Right. And so today,
Yep.
Are you on online sales also still today?
Yeah.
And that's a DTC type of arrangement, right?
Yep.
Are the physicians involved in that? Can they
Yeah.
refer
Yep.
patients through that vehicle and then reap some of the profit?
Yep. Absolutely.
And then other physicians, or they also can stock the product, of course.
Yep.
And they purchase it from you.
Yep.
20 employees, so you do not have a very big sales staff.
No, we have just 10 people in it right now, and looking to grow.
Okay, so are you looking to hire right now?
Not just yet. Back half of the year. So we.
When will we know?
When will we know?
How will we know? Will you tell us on LinkedIn?
You absolutely will. Yeah. We hired to start this year 2 additional salespeople, and assuming we continue to track on plan, then we'll hire another one in Q3 and potentially another one in Q4. To date, we haven't taken any external money. Hopefully that changes. We'd like to accelerate how we grow, obviously, and be able to compete more in all the different key territories in the aesthetics market.
Are you doing a raise right now?
Not just yet, no.
Do you
Not just
anticipate
yet.
doing a raise?
Yeah.
Sounds like you do.
Yeah, absolutely. We historically were always funded by the founders and some of their high net worth biotech friends, but those were family funds, and the deal. You really need a true bolus of growth capital if you want to do it right.
Right.
And through 2024, we've put the business in a position to, I think, be attractive to external capital. So hopefully soon we'll start going on that, and then people will hear a lot more of Sente.
Okay. Well, keep me informed on that.
I will.
I'd certainly like to know all about that. I'm not going to ask you about revenue or sales right now. I'm going to go back to the commercialization.
Yeah.
How many products do you have available?
We have 12.
And give us a feel for what they are.
Yeah.
You have a cleanser?
We do. Cleanser, we have 2 different types of cleansers. One more for sensitive skin. That one, it's Daily Soothing Cleanser. That won a new beauty award. And we also have an exfoliating cleanser. It's very gentle. That's actually my favorite of the 2. But what we're really known for is our dermal repair products. So dermal repair cream and dermal repair ultra nourish. These certainly are a great everyday moisturizing type product, great moisturizing. But because of those properties of the molecule, they help restore and repair the skin barrier if it's damaged. So think, post laser, and we've got great data on that. Same thing with microneedling. Because of its ability to reduce inflammation, work with the growth factors to enable them to stimulate the skin cells to produce collagen and elastin. So that's how it repairs the skin barrier. And so it really is a fascinating molecule. And the more we learned with it, the more we saw what else it meant. So in June of 2023, we had a study published on patients with moderate to severe type 1 rosacea.
Okay.
So centralized redness, something that people struggle with. And a lot of people think they have sensitive skin, but that's really what's going on. And well done study, double-blind, randomized, and just showed phenomenal results versus Cetaphil moisturizer. So it's not like we just put nothing on the skin. These patients both started with a pulse dye laser treatment. which is standard of care in a lot of derm practices for people with more moderate to severe rosacea.
And plastics.
And then got either Cetaphil or our dermal repair cream product.
Okay.
And I mean, the results were phenomenal. So much so that the National Rosacea Society called us and said, we've been thinking about doing the seal of acceptance for products. And we saw your published study. Send us all your data, send us all your safety data. I mean, they vetted the living daylights out of this. So we were the first product to get that seal. And now you see others, including Skin Better, honestly, like they got awarded that as well. But Sente was the first because of that data and because of the impact it has on patients.
So speaking of Skin Better, they have a lot of different products.
Yep.
You've mentioned the moisturizers, 2 cleansers. Tell us some more.
Yeah, 2 different retinols, more your full strength, and that's our Even Tone retinol product. And then we have one of my favorites and something I can actually use because I can't tolerate retinols, but we call it our BioComplete Serum. This is the second SKU Sente launched. And it still is like in the top 2 as far as sales because it's a very gentle encapsulated bakuchiol, so it's a retinol derivative that's time released.
Okay.
And so very, very gentle. So people like me that if I use a normal retinol, if I do it more than once a week, I'm fried. My face is just red, irritated, can't take it. This I use 4 or 5 times a week at night and no issues whatsoever.
Okay.
So this is a fantastic entry-level retinol.
For people who are sensitive to other retinols.
Yep.
Okay, what else?
We launched last year a hyaluronic acid product, 4 different molecular weights, plus our heparan sulfate analog molecule.
Ooh.
Yeah, so kind of a powerhouse hydrator, but also, again, reducing redness. And to launch that, we did a really cool split face study in patients with microneedling. So standard of care on one side, our products on the other, to show just an increase in how quickly the redness goes away, better results as far as preventing transepidermal water loss, even though standard of care is more like Vaseline, right? Aquaphor.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
But and this is an HA serum, but still did a better job preventing transepidermal water loss versus an Aquaphor. So
on a
cool
microneedling
stuff.
case.
Yep.
How often were they putting it on?
Once a day.
Just once a day?
Yeah.
Like in the morning, it lasted all day long?
Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other products that come to mind?
Yeah.
You've gone through a lot of them. I don't mean to put you on the spot.
No, that's okay. The other one that's really cool, we have a product, we call it our pigment and tone corrector.
Tell us about that.
So that pairs our heparan sulfate analog molecule with another ingredient called cysteamine. So cysteamine, that's a naturally occurring aminothiol that works on multiple steps in the melanogenesis cycle.
Okay.
And so it, in and of itself, it helps to reduce brown spots, hyperpigmentation. And we used to market, we were the distributor for a Swiss product that was cysteamine only. And a lot of our KOLs were saying, well, geez, you ought to make a product that takes a cysteamine with your heparan sulfate analog molecule because, cysteamine is addressing the browns, if you will, the reducing pigment, but there's an underlying inflammatory component to hyperpigmentation, melasma. And so we said, that seems to make sense. So that's what we did. We formulated the 2 together. And then again, being very rooted in science, we did a head-to-head versus the product we used to sell. Double-blind randomized study, very well done, published in January of 2023, and saw just better outcomes when looking at patients' MASI score, which is Melasma Area Severity Index. Just saw our patients had a 71% improvement in that score versus 55% in the competitive product.
So that's an effective treatment of melasma. Does it also lighten the entire skin, the whole face,
No.
or how does it know to target the melasma?
That's what's cool because it basically, and I'm sure you know Corey Hartman. So the way he describes this is really cool because it just allows a patient's natural skin tone to come out. So it just reduces the amount and normalizes the amount of pigment produced. So it's not a bleach or like a hydroquinone where it's just destroying the melanocytes that have already come up to the epidermal layer of the tissue. This is just helping to reduce the production of it, to more normalize it, if you will, and even it out. So it's a very, very gentle product, for lack of a better way to say it, and more natural looking.
So but it targets the hyperpigmentation of the melasma.
Yes.
But it doesn't target the surrounding non-melasma
Correct.
skin?
Correct.
So we don't see an overall lightening of the skin?
No.
But rather targeted
You see
lightening.
an evening of the skin tone.
Interesting.
And
What's the name of that product again?
That's our pigment and tone corrector.
Pigment and tone corrector. That's
Yep.
very exciting. I'd like
Yeah.
to see that.
Yeah.
So,
It's a cool product. I use it myself just because I feel like, I mean, those are great ingredients for your skin, the cysteamine and our heparin sulfate analog. So together, like, I just feel my skin looks just better, honestly.
And how often do you use it?
So I use it about twice a week. In our clinical studies, it's once daily use for 16 weeks. Or until, and as far as like in practice, we say until the patient gets to where they want to be. Once they get there, they can just be on like maintenance mode, which is essentially twice a week. If they stop using it altogether, then over time, yes, those brown spots are going to come back.
Is there any toxicity?
There is not. So it can be used year round. It doesn't have to be cycled off like hydroquinone. And quite frankly, I mean, I know some people, tend to shy away from hydroquinone because of potential toxicity. I always say if you use hydroquinone in the practice, great. This pairs well with that because now you're addressing the pigmentation on a couple different levels. And hydroquinone, because it works by destroying the melanocytes that have already migrated to the epidermal layer of the tissue, you're going to see results faster with hydroquinone by about 2 weeks. So have the patient use the hydroquinone, and then when you cycle them off, they just continue on this, and now they maintain their even skin tone.
So what about lactating or pregnant women?
That's a great question. So I can't sit here and say yes because we have not done. That's always the chicken and the egg, right?
Right.
You don't do clinical studies on pregnant women.
Nope.
So then you can't claim that. So no, we can't say on our label, and we say this hasn't been tried in pregnant women. So that's got the standard line is consult your physician.
And the same thing with lactating women?
Yes.
Who have hyperpigmentation following their pregnancy and
That's
so forth.
right. But an interesting fact, cysteamine is found in highest concentrations in mammalian milk.
I'll be darned. That's crazy. So the baby's taking it.
Exactly.
That is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you're very busy, obviously, and you're based in Atlanta, correct?
Yep.
But your home office is in Carlsbad.
That's right.
And how often do you get to Carlsbad?
About once every 6 weeks.
Okay.
And
And
spend
you're
the
going to
week.
go there later today?
And I'm going there later today, yeah.
Excellent. What other projects are you working on? I'm curious. Or is this full time?
Oh, this is full time. This is definitely full time. But mentoring people, and not necessarily in this industry, but it's just kind of a cool little story that I was flattered about. But at the aesthetic meet, actually in Austin, so staying at the Fairmont, and I was having dinner one night, just sitting up at the bar in the restaurant, and the manager there was just over the top phenomenal.
Okay.
Young kid, just got promoted to manager, right? And he just took such great care of me, remembered, what I had ordered before and all this stuff, and we were talking about wine. He set up a little wine tasting for me and all this stuff. So I wrote him, I'm a big fan of handwritten thank you notes.
Okay.
So I was just floored by his service, and so I left a handwritten note for him, just thanking him for taking care of me, making my week. And he called me up and said, that's so nice of you. I got your note. And he said, would you mind if I called you from time to time? I'm just getting on in my career as a manager now, and I don't want to mess it up. And would you mind if I just called to pick your brain every now and then? And I said, no, absolutely. Like that. I don't know.
What a compliment.
Yeah, it's honestly, and it's to me like that's what I enjoy most about what I do, is helping other people get to wherever they want to go in their career. And if I have some impact on that in any way, that's special. And when people call you and go, hey, remember you did this, that stuck with me, and now this, and Yeah, and I can't. I mean, that was imparted to me by one of my mentors, Jeff Thompson, who's still with the private equity group, and he's very much about serving everybody else, and believing that just comes back to you.
So you've had mentors.
Oh,
you mentioned
absolutely,
Jeff.
Yeah.
And you've had others in your pattern. You're mentoring after your mentors.
Yeah.
Yes, I know
Annie.
the feeling. Yes.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah,
Annie, of
Annie,
course.
I mean, yeah, a great friend to the society and to you,
Mm-hmm.
and to me as well. And he's always been so generous with his time.
Absolutely.
I mean, you can call him up anytime.
Do you know how many times I've asked Hanny to be on this program? Do you hear this, Hanny? I hope you're listening to me, Hanny. We've asked you time and time again.
Hanny, you have to do it.
Yes, please, Hanny.
He gives. I mean, gosh, what a wealth of knowledge.
Oh, I'll
It's
say.
unbelievable.
Yep. I've had the pleasure of working with him for many years.
Yeah.
And what a great mentor he's been to
Yeah.
many of us.
Many. Yeah.
I still call him. Okay. Well, hey, you've been in the business so long.
Yep.
And I noticed you had your bag and you've got that crystal ball in it, I see there. So looking in your crystal ball, tell me, what do you see in this industry, the aesthetics business or skin
Yeah.
business? Can you lump it, all of aesthetics or
Yeah.
just skincare? In the next few years, 5 years, what are we going to see?
I think my opinion, so when it comes to skincare and even treatments, you see this kind of regression back to more natural approach to things. Even with like exosomes, those are more natural regenerative molecules, and you hear regenerative, but also simplifying. And I think you'll see the use of molecules and substances that try and replace things that our body just doesn't make as much of or doesn't do as good of a job at, as opposed to synthesized things. And where I think what I think and what I believe will be a big help in that is AI. In being able to, particularly smaller companies like Sente, simulate and understand what molecules work well together, what don't, how will they have a synergistic effect before, and starting to funnel down before you start getting into formulations, right? And spending all sorts of money on formulating a product only to realize, oh, this isn't safe, this irritates the skin, because these two together, while separately might be great, come to find out, not so much together. So I think predictive analysis like that, leveraging AI technology, and then taking it, and this is an unsolicited plug for a company that's looking to launch in the U.S. called Aura. I don't know if you've seen that device yet, that imaging device.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, I saw that at IMCAS in January, and what a fascinating tool, because the images that you can get, truly, it uses it's like 32 cameras around this thing that takes all sorts of pictures, and you can see reds and browns and lines and wrinkles and all that stuff, and really targeted. And so to me, like as a skincare brand, I get excited when I see that, because how quickly you can show to a patient, hey, look, this is really what's going on. This is your issue. This is the product that we can do that you need based on this. Or if it's fillers or toxins, these are the areas exactly where we're going to hit that's going to get the look that you want. And then track that over time. And when they see the results and they see the difference with quantitative analysis, not just qualitative, but quantitative analysis, oh my gosh, that's great. This product's working. I'm going to stay on it. And I truly believe that's going to help increase the in-practice sales phenomenally.
Absolutely. I completely agree with you. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
It's going to objectify things.
Yes.
And quantify it.
Yep.
To your point. And that will lead to better compliance and adoption and also
Exactly.
purchasing.
Yep.
So there's no question. Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else?
There's a lot of stuff that I love more of the tech that's coming in, and I know you know Voin, Kos, and
Yes.
and Vertly, and that I saw that at the aesthetic meet, and again, just a better way to engage and educate the patient. And I think make things more understandable and accessible to them, and feel more tailored, creates that experience that they expect when they're coming into something that they're paying cash for, and they have this expectation. Tech like that, software like that, the Aura device and imaging, like that all just creates a much more customized experience.
I would
And
agree.
at the end of the day, I think that's really, the more you can do that and provide that for patients, the more they're willing to spend and invest in their beauty.
Has Sente provided materials to Voin for Vertly?
We just had a call with them a couple weeks ago. So yes, I mean we're definitely going to be on that platform.
He presented it at Aesthetic Innovation Summit, or
Yeah.
AIS, a couple weeks ago, prior to the aesthetic meet, and you were there.
Yep.
And he won the award. He presented it at Shark Tank, and he won the award for best presentation. And that's very exciting technology.
Yeah.
And I'm glad to hear that you and Sente are also participating with Vertly and Voin. Tried to get him on the show today.
Oh, no kidding.
But we were booked. And perhaps we can get him on the next taping. Great friend.
I hope so. Great guy,
And
smart.
great guy,
oh
very
my gosh.
smart.
Him and
And Aubrey.
And Aubrey. I mean, the two of them, just ridiculously smart.
Yeah. And great people.
Yeah, and great people. 100% right.
So that's great. Well, I want to thank you very much for coming here today from Atlanta.
My pleasure.
We've had a number of guests, and they've all flown in so far today. But let me ask you this. I asked Candace this. What time did you get up this morning to fly in today?
I came in last night, actually.
Oh, you came in last night. Okay.
But with the time change, I was up at 4.
Okay, Candace, yeah.
I was up at 4 a.m.
Great. Well, again, thank you very much.
Yeah, my
Have
pleasure.
a wonderful time. I will see you in a few days.
Yes.
Okay?
AmSpa.
Yes, at AmSpa. And I want to thank all of you for joining us today in this exciting episode of The Technology of Beauty. Zubin certainly taught us some new things today that I've never heard about. And I'm hopeful that you also learned some things today also. We'll see you each and every Tuesday here on The Technology of Beauty, where I have the opportunity to interview the movers and shakers of the beauty business. Take care. Have a great week.